The Las Vegas Aces said that the stakes were raised. They said that game 2 was a critical must-win game. But ultimately, when it came down to it, the team folded in the end. How did that happen, and what's next? We'll talk about it right after this.
Quita Loves Sports. It is in the name.
Yeah, I mean, being up 2-0 is great, but we haven't won anything. I think everyone knows that. We did what we were supposed to do, which was protect home court, win 2 at home. But it's not like we're patting ourselves on the back and, celebrating, talking about how happy we are. Like, this isn't what we came to do. We didn't come to just win 2 games at home and then be satisfied. And so I think we're a hungry group. Obviously, we're pleased with the way we came out today. We battled. They came out swinging, playing really aggressive, and to be able to see how we just stuck together and chipped away quarter by quarter, made big plays when we needed to, and now have a great opportunity to go take that first one at their home court. That's what our goal is, and that's what we're going to go do.
But let there be no doubt, we're in for a war, an uphill one. But I was born in the woods, so I don't care.
What is up, awesome people of the internet? Hope y'all are doing well, guys. We are seeing some fantastic play in WNBA playoff action. It's getting really, really fun. I do want to specifically in this video talk about the New York Liberty versus the Las Vegas Aces game. In game 1, we ultimately saw the New York Liberty come out like a buzzsaw, really take it at the Las Vegas Aces. Breanna Stewart had a masterful game. Ultimately, the Liberty ended up winning that game 1 by 10 points. We come into game 2, and Becky Hammond is like, hey, we have a lot that we needed to improve on, right? We needed to improve our three-point shooting. We need to improve our ability to defend and ensure that the New York Liberty does not get easy shots. And we needed to ensure that we had better spacing on offense, making sure that players weren't liabilities, basically, aka Kia Stokes. And we came into the game 2 with at least 2 of those issues sort of being fixed right off the bat. We saw the Las Vegas Aces change the starting lineup, and instead of Kia Stokes starting, Kia Stokes ended up coming off the bench, and we saw Alysha Clark get the starting nod. To me, I thought that was a very, very, very smart move. The reason why is because, yes, Kia Stokes is a fantastic defender. However, on offense, she is a liability. When she's on the court, her man is not sticking with her. They're allowing her to do whatever she wants to do because they know she's not going to score like that. And instead, they have more help towards A'ja Wilson to prevent her from scoring, and more help on the guards to prevent them from getting easy looks at the three-point line. That decision to bench Kia Stokes, start Alysha Clark, genius move. And we saw that move actually fix 2 problems right off the bat. The spacing was better for this team, and they got more opportunities to shoot three-pointers early. And we saw that in the first quarter. In that first quarter, Alysha Clark started the game off with a three-pointer, and it just continued from there for the Las Vegas Aces. Ultimately, in that first quarter alone, this team goes 62% from the three-point line, ultimately making 5 of 8 three-pointers in the first quarter alone. It was a fantastic start for the Las Vegas Aces squad. And of course, the New York Liberty was sort of getting their shots as well. We saw Benijah Hamilton getting involved early. Same thing for Breanna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu. But the thing that I love the most about this New York Liberty team, not just in this first quarter, but also just sort of throughout the game, was Courtney Vandersloot and her impact off the bench. Courtney Vandersloot is a player who started for most of the year. She was the starting point guard for this team, but ultimately in the playoffs, the New York Liberty decided to bench Courtney Vandersloot, not because necessarily of her play, but because of defensive matchups. It made more sense for Courtney to come off the bench. We ultimately saw Leonie Febage get the starting nod. Sabrina Ionescu playing the point guard position to start off the game. But Courtney Vandersloot is still a really, really good point guard in the WNBA, and she's a really good scorer in the WNBA. And we saw that in the in the first quarter and ultimately throughout the entire game, where Courtney Vandersloot was making stuff happen for her team. Ultimately, she did finish the game with 12 points. She only had one assist, which is very, very rare for her. But she had a fantastic block towards the end of the game, which was absolutely huge. She's a 5'8" player, but she can get up there. She can get up there every now and then and get a block shot. I thought that the intensity on both the offensive and defensive end for Courtney Vandersloot was absolutely huge and critical for this team. Yes, ultimately the New York Liberty lost that first quarter, right? Las Vegas had 27, New York had 22 at the end of that first quarter, but it was the intensity that Courtney Vandersloot sort of started the game off with that sort of continued throughout the game, and in my opinion was a critical piece for them to ultimately win the basketball game. In that first quarter alone, Courtney Vandersloot had 7 points, right? And it just continued from there. Her impact continued from there. And then we go into the second quarter and we see this New York Liberty team sort of kick it into high gear a little bit. Sabrina Ionescu scoring a little bit more. It was sort of a rounded out effort. And in that second quarter, I thought Kayla Thornton for the New York Liberty had a fantastic quarter. Ultimately, she scored 9 points, and all of those points in the paint, layups, easy buckets for the New York Liberty to have. In that second quarter alone, there were so many layups for the New York Liberty. I was like, man, so many sort of yes, some of them were contested, but so many sort of like basically open layups for the New York Liberty, where it was like, man, this Las Vegas Aces team, they couldn't really do anything to stop it. We ultimately did see a lot of frustration from Coach Becky Hammond throughout the game due to the layup issue and the fact that this team was getting easy bucket after easy bucket because of the rotations of the Las Vegas Aces on defense. There were times where Becky Hammond had to call timeouts because she was so frustrated with how her team was playing on defense, allowing the New York Liberty to get easy shots.
If they make some 18-footers contested play on, the layups are just backbreaking. And that's us. But like I said, 22 points off of turnovers, 20 of them at the half, 20 points off turnovers at the half. And then we come out and do it 2 times. They get 2 points in the second half. Like we just can't have those lulls, and I can't call enough timeouts, nor do I want to call timeouts because I'm livid with my own team for layups. Like, let me be mad at the refs, let me be mad at the New York Liberty. Like, I don't want to be mad at us. And that's what it was. It was aces versus aces tonight. We were beating ourselves.
So the Liberty, they make their run in the second quarter, and we go into halftime with a 6-point New York Liberty lead. And at that moment, I was thinking, okay, well, the Las Vegas Aces punched first, New York Liberty punched second. What does the second half have in store? Because this is a New York Liberty team that was not playing their best. They weren't. That first half was, yes, the New York Liberty ended up getting the lead. Yes, they ended up making a decent amount of shots. But for me, that first half really was the Las Vegas Aces sort of beating themselves up. Like it was not a good half for the New York Liberty, but ultimately they did have the lead at the half, which made me a little bit concerned for the rest of the game, because I was like, okay, well, if the New York Liberty don't play that well in terms of their stars sort of shining in that first half, ultimately, the stars for the New York Liberty, yeah, they were doing something, right? You saw Breanna Stewart with 7 and Sabrina Ionescu had 8 at the half, but it wasn't like they were absolutely dominating. That wasn't the case. It was that the Las Vegas Aces were shooting themselves in the foot. There were quite a bit of turnovers for the Las Vegas Aces. They had 10 turnovers in that first half. The Liberty had 7, but it was the Liberty's ability to score off of Las Vegas' turnovers that was the huge issue. Ultimately in the game, we saw 22 points off of turnovers. For the New York Liberty, scoring off of Las Vegas' turnovers. For Las Vegas, they only scored 14 points off of New York's turnovers. Like that, to me, that was a huge issue of Las Vegas just not being able to take care of the basketball. They weren't able to take care of the basketball, and not only that, they were allowing easy layups, post shots in the paint, where they really should have been challenging a lot more. This New York Liberty team does not beat Las Vegas from the 3-point line. They beat them in the paint. That's how they beat them. And it was a gritty game. And it wasn't like the New York Liberty, they play a lot of finesse play, right? A lot of like elbow jumpers by Breanna Stewart, 3-point shots by everybody on the team. It wasn't quite the case, especially in that first half. And with the first half that the New York Liberty had on offense, you would think that the Las Vegas Aces would have the lead, but ultimately they don't, because they're doing a couple things. One, they're not giving the ball to A'ja Wilson. In that first half alone, A'ja only had 4 field goal attempts. 4 field goal attempts. She ended up with 6 points at the end of that first half, and that's not good enough, right? Of course, Las Vegas wanted to get their guards involved, and absolutely get them involved. Chelsea Gray was big in that first half. She had 10 points. Ultimately, she did have 3 assists, whereas in game 1, she didn't have her first assist until the second half. So they were moving the basketball. They were making stuff happen. But ultimately, they were just making costly mistakes on offense, which led to turnovers, which led to opportunities for the New York Liberty. This team for the Las Vegas Aces, they should have played better. They absolutely should have played better in that first half. They had a golden opportunity, but ultimately they weren't fully able to capitalize. Yes, they did stuff, right? Tiff Hayes is always a spark off the bench. Jackie Young, she's dealing with a lot of pain. It was said throughout the game. We don't know exactly what her injury is, but according to Holly Rowe, it's a lot of pain. There were opportunities for the Las Vegas Aces to really just dominate in that entire first half. Yes, they did well in that first quarter. Second quarter, the New York Liberty come back, and at the end of the first half, with the game being a 6-point game, I was like, oh, yeah, I think the New York Liberty got it. And ultimately they did. They ended up finishing the game off, in that third quarter. It was pretty evenly matched. And that fourth quarter was really the thing that sort of sealed the Las Vegas Aces' fate, right? They started out the fourth quarter well. You want to win the game. You're losing. Who do you give it to? You give it to your best player. And your best player, of course, is A'ja Wilson. A'ja Wilson scores the first 2 buckets of the fourth quarter for the Las Vegas Aces. And then it was a slog throughout, right? So A'ja starts to score, then Sabrina scores, then Jonquel, and it was a battle. It was a battle basically between A'ja Wilson and Sabrina Ionescu throughout the entire fourth quarter. And specifically for the fourth quarter, I want to go all the way towards the end of the game. After it was all tied up, 81-81, with Alicia Clark's big 3-point bucket, we see the confidence that Sandy Brondello has in this New York Liberty team. She didn't call a timeout. She did not call a timeout and sort of draw up something. She trusted her team. Her team ended up, running a play. Jonquel gets it to Sabrina Ionescu. Sabrina, what does she do? Jumper, straight up cash in the mid-range. Now the New York Liberty is up 2 points. And I really thought at this moment, it was a minute and 15 seconds left to go in the fourth quarter, right? New York is up by 2. The crowd is going wild. Insane crowd. I thought that the Las Vegas Aces would call a timeout. They did not. They do not call a timeout. Becky Hammond's like, okay, we're going to run with y'all. Y'all got this. Run a play. They run a play, of course, get the ball to A'ja Wilson. A'ja Wilson, who has put her team on her back this entire year. She ultimately goes for the mid-range jumper, sort of at the elbow. She ends up missing the shot. Rebound, New York Liberty. And honestly, after that, it was basically all she wrote, right? It was sort of all she wrote on that front because time was winding down. It was less than a minute left to go. Sabrina ended up missing a 3-point shot. The Aces get the rebound. Again, they do not call a timeout. A'ja Wilson ends up missing a layup. And there was a loose ball. The ball was loose. Gets wrapped up. Ultimately, we see Breanna Stewart and Jackie Young tie it up. They do a jump ball. The Aces get it. Sabrina ends up fouling Tiff Hayes. Tiff, unfortunately for her, was not able to make both of her free throws. She makes one, but she doesn't make the second. The score was 82 Las Vegas, 83 New York Liberty. There was 16.2 seconds left to go. And time was winding down. And so the Las Vegas Aces had really no choice but to foul. So they foul Sabrina Ionescu. Sabrina gets to the line. She goes 1 of 2. And this is a surprise because usually she's automatic from the free throw line. She's a 90% 3-point free throw shooter in general. She ultimately did miss. She missed her first free throw, made her second free throw. Now it's 2-point game. 2-point game. The Las Vegas Aces have the basketball. Chelsea Gray is inbounding it. 10.1 seconds left to go. You're like, okay, maybe the Las Vegas Aces gonna pull out this win, right? Not quite, because Chelsea Gray inbounds the basketball, but ultimately for her, it was a bad pass. She was trying to get the ball to Kelsey Plum. Leonie Feebage ended up trying to contest that. Ball gets knocked right back out of bounds. The referees say it was out on Leonie Feebage. Feebage is like, no, it was not out on me. I did not touch the ball. Let's review that. Sandy Brondello says, yes, we will review that. And after the rest reviewed it, it turns out that the ball was last hit off of Kelsey Plum's shoulder. So ultimately, Chelsea Gray ended up turning over the basketball. It's now New York Liberty basketball. They're up by 2. So the Las Vegas Aces have no choice now but to make this a foul game. So now they have to foul. They foul Sabrina Ionescu. Sabrina makes both of her free throws. We ultimately see the game. It's a 4-point game now, right? 86 New York Liberty, 82 Las Vegas Aces. 8.2 seconds left to go on the clock. The Aces do a timeout. The Aces ended up taking a timeout, figuring out a play. They run a quick play for A'ja Wilson for a mid-range jumper. She hits it. 2-point game again. New York Liberty call it a timeout. The Aces ultimately have to foul again because it's 2-point game. There's at this moment there is 5 seconds left on the clock for the game. So of course they have to foul. They do foul. They foul Breanna Stewart. Breanna Stewart makes both of her free throws, and that is all she wrote. Guys, ultimately that was the basketball game. The New York Liberty ended up winning this game 88-84. Now here's some of my takeaways. Number one, a huge takeaway I have is that Sabrina Ionescu continues to impress me. She continues to impress me as a player who is absolutely critical for her team. She has been absolutely critical for her team for years now, but I feel like this year she's just taken it to a new level. it's not just 3-pointers for Sabrina Ionescu. She can get to the paint when she needs to. She can turn that corner and score. She can. She has like the confidence that only playing in the league for years gets you. She ultimately finished the game with 24 points. She was the player of the game, in my opinion. 24 points, almost had a double-double with 9 rebounds. She had 5 assists in this game. She only had 2 turnovers, guys. She was a starting point guard for this team. She only had 2 turnovers in this game. She shot an efficient 50% from the field. Sabrina Ionescu just continues to impress me with her poise, with her ability to calm down, hit huge shots when it matters the most, and sort of just put her team on her back. When, yes, the New York Liberty played, ultimately they did finish out the game and played, not their normal game, but they played well. But it was all about Sabrina Ionescu. Yes, Breanna Stewart is always great. She had 15 points in this game, 8 assists, which I believe is her high. Definitely in the playoffs, it was her high. 8 assists for Breanna Stewart. She was looking for her teammates, finding them. She had 7 rebounds as well, so she was kind of close to a triple-double for Breanna Stewart. For the New York Liberty, the thing that I really like about them is they can find ways to win, even if, Breanna Stewart doesn't score 20 points. Even if Jonquel Jones doesn't get that critical double-double, they can still find ways to be impactful and to help their team, right? Jonquel Jones ultimately finished the game with 14 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. And yes, she wants that double-double, but there's also various other ways that she helps to impact her team. And I'm sure that double-double is about to come back soon. For Benajelani Hamilton, once again, she continues to provide a really good defense for her squad. Ultimately, she does finish with 8 points in this game. She's still dealing with the knee injury, coming back from knee surgery, so she's not playing a ton of minutes. But the minutes that she is playing, she's trying her best to be impactful, and I think she is a huge player for this team. Just sort of in their future success, if they want to win a WNBA championship, Benajelani Hamilton has to continue to be a defensive threat for her team. Off the bench, again, as I said earlier, we saw Courtney Vandersloot do her thing. We saw Kayla Thornton do her thing. One thing I was surprised about is that Niara Sabally didn't get minutes today. Now, Niara Sabally, to me, I think she has made a huge impact year over year. Like she's way more of a benefit to her team this year than she was last year. She's made huge strides in her gameplay in both the offensive and defensive end. And I was actually pretty surprised that she didn't really play. We did see Kennedy Burke get some minutes. She did ultimately, I think she got injured in the game, so she didn't play that many minutes. She only played 4 minutes in the game for Kennedy Burke. But I would have loved to have seen, instead of Kennedy Burke, I would have loved to have seen Niara Sabally get some minutes, because I think she really has deserved it. Like she deserves more minutes. She's a player who's worked really hard, a player who I don't think will be a liability against the Aces. I mean, especially for 4 to 5 minutes a game. Like I think she would do well in that type of situation. Another thing for the Las Vegas Aces, just want to go through the points real quick. A'ja Wilson, 24 points, 4 assists, 7 rebounds. She continues to sort of do her thing. But it can't just be her, right? We saw Jackie Young have a really good game, 17 points, probably her best game in a long while for Jackie Young. She is dealing with an injury. We don't exactly know what that injury is. Hopefully we'll find out soon. But whatever it is, she was able to be a huge impact player for her team yesterday. Even though her shooting efficiency was pretty poor, her just ability to rebound, pass, and ultimately score, even though her field goal percentage wasn't that great, was absolutely huge for her team. We saw Alicia Clark have 13 points in this one, 3 huge 3-pointers for her team. And of course, as we all know, Alicia Clark can play some defense as well. Chelsea Gray had 14 points in this one, 7 assists, 4 rebounds. Huge game considering how bad she played in game 1. She definitely turned it around in game 2. Kia Stokes, as I said, she went down with a head injury, possible concussion. They will be evaluating her. She only played 8 minutes, had 0 points in that one. Sydney Colson came off the bench. Wasn't a huge, she wasn't very impactful for her team. She had she ended up having 2 turnovers in the game, 1 critical turnover where she was trying to pass it to, I think she was trying to pass it to Kia Stokes, winded up turning over the ball and giving the New York Liberty another opportunity to score. Tiffany Hayes continues to be the best player off the bench for the Las Vegas Aces. She will be the sixth woman of the year. The fact that the WNBA hasn't announced it just yet makes it clear to me that she is going to be the 6th woman of the year, and they're going to announce that at Game 3, at the beginning of Game 3. Tiff Hayes, 10 points. She is a player who brings defense. She's a player who brings offensive intensity. Huge player for this team. But ultimately, just her is not enough. For this team. I was surprised once again that Megan Gustafson did not play in this game. To me, yes, Kia Stokes is a better defender than Megan Gustafson, but Megan Gustafson can bring more of an offensive threat that at times this Las Vegas Aces team needs. And so I really do believe if the Las Vegas Aces really want to win, they need to have Megan Gustafson get in the game and make an impact on offensive end. Yes, she's going to leave some stuff hanging on defense. Yes, she is. But if you play it right, and if you put her in at certain exact moments when like maybe a Jonquel Jones is on the bench or something like that, she could be a big spark for you offensively. But we'll see ultimately what Becky Hammons does. Both the Liberty and the Aces only play 3 players off the bench. And so, yeah, that's that. Guys, yeah, I don't really have anything else to say. What do y'all think about this game? We see once again the New York Liberty team get it done. 44 points in the paint for the New York Liberty, 24 points in the paint for Las Vegas. It was a huge discrepancy in this game. Points off of turnovers, and once again, New York 22 points that they got off of turnovers. For Las Vegas, only 14. This team has to take care of the ball. This Las Vegas Aces team has to take care of the ball. They have to hit big shots, and you have to stay home on defense and not allow your man to wind up getting to the bucket and getting an easy layup. That is it for me, guys. Thank y'all so much for watching. All right, so yeah, that is it for me. What did I miss? Let me know in the comments below. What y'all think about this game? Yeah. We ultimately see the New York Liberty get it done again. Final score, 88-84. Can Las Vegas get it together in the third game and get the dub? In my opinion, yes. I do have Las Vegas winning both Game 3 and Game 4. But ultimately, we'll see. All the chips are on the table, and we're going to see what the Las Vegas Aces are able to do. What are y'all thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. Thank y'all so much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.
Becky, I just want to drill down into that a little bit. That timeout in the second quarter, it followed a layup, like you said. What are you saying to your team in that moment? And just related to this is a 2-time defending championship team. This is a team that obviously knows what it needs to do. Why is it not happening on this in a way it didn't in either 22 or 23 playoffs?
Well, quite frankly, we haven't had the edge all year. We found it the last month. I feel like we've gained a lot of ground, but the feel was different from the jump. And this is why three-peating is hard. Let's be real. Like, the whole league has been pissed off for the last 8 months, and my players are in commercials and this and that and being freaking celebrities, and you get distracted. That's why it's hard, because human nature is distracting. And conversely, you think about the Spurs. I do all the time, the Spurs with the Miami Heat. They lose a absolute heartbreaker in Miami off a basic thing, offensive rebound kick out 3. They should have walked away with the title that year. They lost it that year. The next year they came back. They came back with so much drive, so much discipline, so much focus that there was no way somebody was beating them in 2014. I mean, that ball was popping, but they took a huge loss. Liberty took a huge loss last year. And I liken it to that a little bit, where they had it, they felt like they had it, and we walked away with it. I did think we were the better team, but we were dealt a really freaking tough hand last year in the finals, losing Chelsea and Kia. So I'm sure they feel like something was stolen a little bit. At the end of the day, in 2 years, we've won here 1 time, Game 4. Other than that, they've kicked our ass.
Hey, Becky. You've talked a lot about the turnovers and beating yourselves, but did those feel self-inflicted, unforced, or did the Liberty kind of do something to maybe force you into some of those?
You never give somebody that control. You don't. We have high-level players. Just like Korean, you should never let anybody have control over your joy and happiness throughout the day. That's within your control. So there's some things that we can control. There's some things that we can't. They amped up their pressure. We didn't handle it. And the results are the results. You can't hand that other team the keys to the car like that just because stuff gets tough. Too bad. Guess what? Nobody said it was going to be easy. There's a reason why it hasn't been done since Kobe and Shaq.